Welcome to the All Things Geekery podcast. I'm your host, Detached.
Hey guys, and I'm Victus.
Well, holy bananas, Batman. Today has been a massive day for Destiny. Like, what on earth? The bombs just kept dropping with all of the information that was coming across all of the social media today. Twitter was overflown with everything, and they have the community hopping right now.
Yeah, they released one video which we expected, and then they followed up with another, and then they followed up with letters, and it was just like, oh, here you go. Oh, here's another. Oh,
my
here's
God,
another.
The letters.
It kept the community on our toes, and we could not be more thrilled.
I think everybody's extremely happy because they are taking the best of what we had in Destiny 1, the failures and relearning of what to make Destiny 2 into, and they have rebirthed this new game that looks absolutely amazing. The storyline, oh my God, the lore community is going nuts right now. And I'm going to try really, really hard to stay on track with our outline that we've got because I've got so many things running through my head right now. But, yeah, I'll be quiet.
Yeah, so today we're going to be talking over the two videos for which they released today, which was the Forsaken launch trailer, which, oh my goodness.
Eek!
I'm going to say that now, and then we'll also talk about the vid doc, which followed up shortly after the release, which, again, wow, the stuff they talk about, even in previous vid docs, which they hyped up what was in Forsaken, they showed off even more, and we've already seen them come fruitful with some of the stuff that they've said they're going to do in just these small things that they released up to Forsaken. So,
yeah, the amount of stuff that is coming is mind-boggling. It really is.
With that said, let's start with the Destiny 2 Forsaken launch trailer. So when I first started playing it starts off just like we saw, which was the video, last stand of the gunslinger, which we show Cayde there surrounded by scorn.
Right, all the barons.
All the barons there watching him, almost in amusement, and then it jumps to when right after the end of the last stand of the gunslinger, which it shows, and we saw this coming, Uldren holding the Ace of Spades, Cayde laying there horribly injured.
Yeah.
But he is still his humorous self right at the face of Uldren, in the face of death.
The ultimate jab. Like jab, jab, right in the eye. Jab, jab, jab. Dude, this line is the best thing I have heard all year long. It really is.
Well, because, I mean, if you could take a knife and just stab and twist it and take it to your worst enemy, that was it right there with Cayde saying to Uldren, after he asked, what are your last words?
Yeah.
How's your sister?
How's your sister?
Whoa!
Oh, it was amazing. And then, of course, you know, the scene cuts to black because Uldren shoots Cayde in the head. And, you know, we go into basically a quick peek of Ikora and the Vanguard. And I'm guessing they are back in the tower because you see a body that's been covered up and that could, you know, only be Cayde from how Ikora is acting. She's saying, look, it's not your fault. We should have been there. We need to go do something. But here's what I really like in this moment is they point out what I've been saying for years is that basically Ikora in Destiny 2, what we saw when she had her powers stripped away from her is she kind of became reclusive. She was, you know, very timid, but
vulnerable.
She was vulnerable. And I've never been a Zavala fan. I really don't like Zavala. I never have.
Hey now. Don't be hating on the Titan.
This dude is sitting here in the back corner, and Zavala smacks him upside the face. And he's like, "Look, sucker, if you're gonna hang back and not do something, then fine." But she calls him out for being a lazy, lackluster leader. I'm just gonna say that.
Well, and this is, I mean, going to Ikora, this is where we've seen only one glimpse of this Ikora before, which now this is a even extended part of that. It was when Gull invaded, and when she went to check on the speaker and thought he was dead, she unleashed her rage on the Cabal at that moment, taking on an entire ship by herself. And we saw this again here, where she has the regret of not being there with Cayde.
Yeah.
As she's standing over. So I have to say, we assume it's Cayde's body. We do. We have to assume that's Cayde's body there, which all indication says it is. So we could just assume that. But standing over Cayde's body, and then it switches to rage, that she is calling out Zavala for not taking action.
Yeah. For
this, and she outright says she's then taking that rage and turning it into revenge. Which Osiris, that's or previous Ikoras, that's not the Ikora we know, the scholar Ikora.
Right. This is like a whole new level of Ikora that we've not seen yet. So I'm very curious to find out what happens with Ikora and her role now. I think Cayde was a good mediator with the Vanguard. He brought a level of humor. He brought a level of he kind of level set the field between the two strong personalities of Zavala and Ikora. He brought the humor and the level setting between the two of them. And now that he's gone, I think there's going to be some clashing that happens. And I really do think that Ikora is gonna pan out and end up being a bigger leader than Zavala is.
Yeah, and it's all about the impact that the death of Cayde has on those two. And like you said, he was kind of the glue that held them together.
Right.
Whereas they had different ideologies, sometimes aligned, but also sometimes different in how the Vanguard, how the Tower, how the city is to do certain things, how they're supposed to take acts on certain agendas. So, and I see Cayde's death really working on them in separate ways, which we see a glimpse of this possibility with Ikora wanting to go after, take the full might of the Vanguard against Uldren. But Zavala is reserved. He says he doesn't want to lose any more friends. He wants to just isolation back in the city, that which he knows, that which he loves, and protect that.
I don't know. It comes down to a point of, I think Zavala is going to end up holding back so much. I mean, that in a sense is what brought the devastation of the tower in the first place. Is High and Mighty there thought that defenses were so good that I think, you kind of forget that sometimes a good defense is a good, it's really that offense of going out and taking care of things. So I'm curious to find out what happens with that. I want to make one quick sidetrack, real quick.
Okay. Permission granted.
The letters from Cayde, they've got the internet hopping right now. And the last one that was just released, this is going back on picking on Zavala time right now, because Cayde is not in the tower anymore. He has left the tower and he has gone to the reef to work with Petra and do his hunter thing. And this letter reads this: Ikora, Zavala, if you're reading this, shame on you. You didn't notice me slip out the back door. Step up your game, my buddies. And he says, here's the play. I'm going back to the reef, not just for a mission or two. I'll be staying there for a few days to help out our old pal Petrovenge with a few things. Nothing too serious, just picking up some patrol slack. As always, you know the conditions of my dare, blah, blah, blah. If I need any backup, I'll hit up my favorite guardian. Enough said. Now, our favorite guardian is, of course, our character in the game, means we're going to have a very large part in this story, and that kind of brings into some other points. We'll get to those here in just a little bit. This is my favorite part of this letter right here. Cayde goes on to say this. He says, Zavala, have you figured out your tell yet? He is not even in the tower, and he's picking on Zavala. He says, I'd let you know, but Sundance, and if you guys don't know who Sundance is, that is actually Zavala's ghost. He says, you got to figure it out on your own. You know what? A tough little ghost she is. That would be Sundance. How about this? Play a few rounds with Banshee while I'm gone. I'll bet you a gold engram he'll figure out your tell in 3 hands. That right there just kind of shows the friendship that the 3 of those people have. You know, the tower is more than just people and guardians. Bungie has done an amazing job of creating a community of protectors. Cayde, Zavala, Ikora, Banshee 44. You look at the whole mix of them, Shax, Lord Saladin. They are a community. They're a family, and they have a very large job. And you can really see the wear and tear that they have had over the years and how it's affected their relationships, how it's affected the way they work, how it's affected the way they do things. But what I love is that Cayde has always stayed true, and he's always stayed that Joker. He's stayed the one that is always got the humor no matter the situation. And really the only time we've ever seen Cayde just flare up is the trailer that was released a week ago when all the barons are surrounding him. He's like, all right, I'm done. I'm pissed. And we see Cayde in action, which was amazing. He's one of my favorites. So that was my little slide into let's go chase the rabbit real quick. Anyways, I'll get us back on track.
But no, it actually provides somewhat of a segue into the next part of the Forsaken trailer, which is the barons themselves.
Right.
And we, for the first time, see Uldren directly talk to the barons in that he rules over them. He says, my barons.
Yep.
Almost in the very same type that Mara would have oversaw her fallen that she oversaw. And so he tells them to go cause chaos.
Yeah.
And it is really weird that he would go say that instead of a mission or to go anything. And maybe that's the whole point. It's just to go disrupt what is in the reef. Go destroy it all. And it's really odd that he would do that for something that his sister oversaw, protected, I would even say loved, as when she was queen.
Well, and that goes into some of those speculations that we've been talking about. You know, when you look at the group that he's over right now, the Scorn, the messages that were sent earlier by Cayde, people were talking about a secret decryption that was listed inside of these messages, which there was actually a name of one of the Scorn barons. He was actually the leader of the barons. And if you kind of chase that trail down a little bit, you get to see who he is, where he came from. He's an extremely powerful fallen. He was part of a very old house that was actually banned from the fallen group. And how he came about to be in Uldren's somewhat military, I guess is what you could call it now, I think is going to be kind of a cool piece of the story that we get to unfold as we see how the Scorn function, how Uldren functions. But yeah, you're right with how Mara Sov kind of controlled the whole, the reef and the Awoken, and that whole storyline of how the Awoken even became, and then they've got this broken down reef way out in the middle of God's nowhere, and now her brother has taken over the reef. He's destroyed a ton of things, and like you said, let's go release these barons into doing mass chaos and destruction. So there's definitely a huge backstory there on why Uldren is doing what he is. There's some other pieces inside that story too from the trailer that was really cool with Uldren, and we'll touch on those here in just a little bit. So
yeah, talking about we could go on and talk about the ideology behind the Baron, why are they loyal to Uldren, but that's for our possibly later lore videos.
It's for my lore videos.
But talking about the Fallen in the Reef, we've got insight into the different ones, with particularly in D1 with Varix, and how he wanted to. I probably just butchered that name.
It's actually Varix.
Varix, thank you. How he helped the Guardians was with Mara and Petra, but then we see this another character show up in the trailer called the Spider, which gives a good indication. Which is still Fallen, and who is an arms dealer, and he really portrays the almost, I want to compare it to Jabba the Hutt vibe.
Yes,
and that's immediately what I felt when I saw him. When I hear him talk, for
dirty,
one, he's very dirty,
filthy scoundrel type. Yeah,
fat on his riches, on his quote unquote loot throne, but he's also a Fallen that's very well versed in human language, which is portraying to what he is as an arms dealer. So you expect him to be very well versed in all those things,
right?
But in looking at the lore, just real quick, the Awoken do not like to be allied with him, or do not want to be even notated with him because of what he does. I mean, he's the Jabba the Hutt of the Reef. He does black market stuff. He deals in black market weapons, probably scorn weapons. He will loot off them and sell to the highest bidder, whoever they are. They could be a rogue band of Cabal that's low on weapons. He'll sell to them, or he'll sell to the Guardians or the Awoken, whoever gives him money or whatever he wants. But it's also interesting because he now has a vendetta against Uldren. And I think that plays into the disruption that Uldren is now causing in the Reef, thereby disrupting his economy.
Yeah, definitely plays into that. Quick little trivia bit too on the Spider is he is one of 3 Fallen that are very well versed in the English language. And 2 of those you actually get to see in game, or we've actually only seen one of them in game and interacted with him, and that is Varix. Previous, right. He was the vendor in Destiny 1. So we did get a quick little snippet of the Spider as him as a vendor with some of the fun little things that he's going to bring, and I'm really curious to watch how they play him into the story, because you are right, with his connections and market that he has, I'm pretty sure that the pockets that he's got, the deep connections, he's going to be a huge ally for really finding these barons and kind of bringing Uldren down, I think.
Yeah, we'll see what type of wild card he is, or he may give us quests, he may give us weapons, but it's all to the benefit of him.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
If a deal is not, he's not doing it out of the goodness of his heart, but because we pay him in Glimmer, and probably at a very high price. So,
and that brings up a good point, because right now our Glimmer caps out at 100K. So, what kind of currency are we going to have? New currencies outside of Glimmer? There's other things, there's other worlds out here. Do we have things inside the world that we're going to be able to use as well? Curious to see what they do with that new system, how that's going to function. I know there's tons of stuff that we could kind of get off on the roadmap, but I think 100K on the Glimmer when Destiny 2 came out a year ago everybody was like, oh my god, look at how much Glimmer you get to have. And then we realized how fast that Glimmer disappeared, and it was a struggle for a lot of people who weren't hardcore players that were always on and had that rotation cycle for getting Glimmer. So I'm curious to see what they do for the market inside of Glimmer and that system for payout. Curious to see if they revamp a few things.
Yeah, and who knows, it may be our first established economy. I could very easily see them doing around this arms dealer, which would be a good... excellent catalyst.
Yeah, that would be a good fit.
The community MMO that is Destiny in game.
Mm-hmm.
However they structure that, if they even go that way, we'll see.
And you said in-game, and the in-game in this is getting really, really interesting because you watch the natural flow and progression that we had in Destiny 1. We go all the way back to vanilla Destiny. We're talking 2013? Late 2013, or was it September 2014? I can't remember. I think it was September 2014. But vanilla Destiny, all the expansions, the way it functioned, the raids that came out, the brokenness to the bugginess, you watch that natural progression with the story, and then we had things like the Taken King that hit that was, in a game, disruptive technology. I mean, if you compare it, it really was. We had never seen anything like the Taken King. The story was amazing. It was a huge expansion, bigger than anything we had ever seen. And then we went into the Rise of Iron. Great progression for the story. And then Destiny 2 launches. Great story. They stripped a lot of things out that from Destiny 1. They tried a ton of new things, learned what failed, learned what worked. Now we're coming into a brand new kind of hybrid again. And the end game of everything that we're reading, everything that they're giving us, is bigger than anything that Bungie has ever produced or ever given. They actually gave a comparative size to the Taken King, and the size level that the Forsaken is ridiculous how much bigger this game is. The setup, I'm going to speculate here just a little bit because there's so many things pointing towards it. There really is. But the end game isn't Forsaken. This Forsaken, to me, is the setup for the actual end game that is going to be an expansion coming later, to me. And that points into the Dreaming City, that points into Marsav, Aldrin. All of these things, in my mind, are a huge setup for an enemy that we have never seen, but we've talked about, we've seen, and that's Savathûn. That's a huge speculation. I don't want to chase down too many, wild rabbits, but I think there is a Savathûn expansion coming, and I think what Bungie is doing with Forsaken right now with their story writing and their content that they're going to be rolling out all through the rest of this year, spring of next year, summer of next year. I mean, they've got content lined out till summer of next year. There's not going to be any content droughts anymore. There's timed content that's coming out, and I think the way the story is going to shape up is one of the best things in the gaming industry that we're going to see. I really do.
Yeah, it'll be exciting to see where we go, how Forsaken is connected. After it comes out, we get experience the story and get all the full unlocks come 2 weeks into it, and to see how it evolves with that. But talking about some of the things that we saw in D1 that has been gone for a while and has excited the community after the release of this video is that our Guardian has our voice back. We finally said something.
We are actually going to talk.
Goodness.
We are actually going to talk again. Yeah, this is that right there is a huge game changer, if you ask me, because in the point of the trailer, when they're sitting there talking, Ikora and Zavala are talking about Cayde, and what does our Guardian say? He says, "Aldrin is mine."
Yeah, like this is, as we've been
personal.
saying since we saw. It's personal. It is absolutely 100%. He is on Ikora's side. It is personal.
And for this DLC to work and to actually have good buy-in from anybody who plays it, they had to make Cayde's death personal. They couldn't just take a character like Cayde and make a good story and kill him off in a fashion like they have some of these other people in the game that have become lore. Cayde has always been one of our main people that we've interacted with for years. He's always been one of the go-tos. We've done stories with him. We have done missions with him. We've gone and found broken loot chests that are laid out all over Destiny 2. We've seen humor from him. So they had to make this personal. And let me tell you, all the things leading up to this, it doesn't matter what social platform, whether you're on Facebook or you're on YouTube or Twitter, anytime one of these trailers come out with something about Cayde, hashtag all the feels, all right? Because Cayde became somebody that people knew. They felt like they were, that character was just somebody that you could go hang out with and do things with in the game. So, all I have seen all day long on Twitter is, oh my God, Cayde is dead, and all the crying emotes and all the memes and the gifs and everything has been all the emotions, because that's what makes a good story. Bungie has always been amazing at writing emotionally driven stories, and they're continuing with that for Forsaken, and that excites me.
Yeah, and it's really, out of all the times to bring back where our Guardian has a voice, this is probably the best.
Yeah.
Now,
absolutely.
They could have always brought it back since the beginning, and we could have had a voice, especially when we saw the light being pulled from us and the struggle to get it back, going through that process. Yes, it could have been inserted there and actually felt like it needed to be, and which was one of my downsides to playing the campaign. Was there's several instances where I feel like I just wanted to say something, but the Guardian didn't. But now, with the loss of Cayde, it works. It allows us to, which we assume no multiple choice, no dialogue or anything like that. He's just going to say something. But so far in D1, it was always what we were feeling, and either a question appeared and he said it, or a statement, and it was never off. It was never off kilter. It was never off bat. So we only got 1.5 sentences out of our Guardian, so we'll see how much we talk compared to now our Ghost, which used to do all the talking, the snarky remarks and all that.
Yeah.
So we'll see how we go back to bantering with our Ghost.
Which was always a great part of the game. That just kind of helped draw you into the story even more with that banter, and I don't know. It always made it feel like you had somebody that was there with you. To where before in Destiny 2, when we found out we weren't having voices, literally the Ghost just did all the talking for you. And I don't know. It made the story really flat and sometimes dead in a few areas.
Yeah, because it always seemed like your Ghost was the proxy, and it actually became the protagonist of the game you're playing. It's no longer your Guardian, it's your Ghost, and you're just a tool to this Ghost.
Right.
Because he was doing all the talking.
Yeah.
So we'll see. We'll see what happens. Hopefully they pull off, keep up with a lot of the dialogue as we go through. That there's dialogue as you converse with your Ghost, as you rescue the body of Cayde and bring it back. That'll be super important right there for you to hold on to the story and connect with it.
Yeah, and that piece where it comes in and shows the three of them, Ikora, Zavala, and the Guardian standing there with Cayde. That opening mission, I'm pretty sure we're going to see Twitchers and YouTubers all over the world having emotions from going and saving Cayde.
Oh, yeah. Oh, absolutely. Myself included. So,
yeah, it's going to be good times. Like I was saying earlier, I'm in Destiny 2 right now. I was just running around checking things and looking at some of the updates. And it's weird not seeing Cayde in the tower right now. It's just an odd feeling. Like the tower doesn't even feel right anymore for some reason. I don't even know how to explain that. It's a video game. I'm not there. But when you walk into some place and it just doesn't feel right to you, something's off, and that's how the tower feels right now. Like I don't even want to be in the tower right now. Cayde's not there. It's strange. It really is. Good job, Bungie. You have made a very awkward, emotional feeling right now that everybody's kind of like, oh, I don't want to be here.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, same here. Walked in there and no longer able to turn in your world quest to him to get your loot. No one currently. He's not dead. He's just away on his mission.
He's just
but
away.
No, we know the future.
Yep.
So when that actually happens, and I want to go in and speculate about who the next Hunter Vanguard is, because it always seems like there needs to be one of each class: the Warlock, the Titan, and the Hunter.
And I think there's a few obvious. I think there's at least 3 top ones that we could probably speculate on.
Yeah, or it could be somebody completely out of left field that we don't know about yet, but will come to enjoy as a part of the Vanguard community.
So the top 3 that are on my list of speculations, we'll just do this real quick because I like to speculate things, and I've got a lot of stuff in my brain, all right? Got to get it out. Number 1 is Lady Aphrodite. We have yet to hear back from Aphrodite, whether she is dead or gone. We don't know. There is speculation out there in one of the Grimoire cards from Destiny 1, and I cannot remember what piece of armor or weapon, whatever it was on. I can't remember. It talked about another galaxy, another world that Aphrodite was actually part of that had guardians. It was a peaceful realm that she was coming from. So I don't know if she went back to it. The other one that could potentially be is Shiro 4. He was one of the vendors in Destiny 1 from Rise of Iron. And if you look back at some of the, kind of lore and things on Shiro as well, him and Cayde were very close in that. Basically, Shiro was a mentee of Cayde and kind of was being brought up by Cayde as well. And then I think the last one is Anna Bray. So if you look at those 3 hunters, Anna's probably the least out of those speculations because she's our vendor on Mars. So unless something happens on Mars and she ends up changing, I don't know. I don't see that happening. So really the first 2 are Aphrodite and Shiro. Those are my picks.
Yeah, and who knows? We may not have a replacement for quite a while.
We may not. Maybe that whole function and piece is gone now. Maybe something happens and changes there.
One of the last things, we can speculate all day long on this, but one of the last things I do want to notate about this trailer is something interesting that happens with Aldrin is that he starts to talk about he's not just on this mindless rampage to destroy the reef or to revenge something or revenge Mara. He looks like he's in search of something. Maybe it's just a tool for him to continue his rampage, but he starts talking to us almost in a taunting way, notating that light and dark are so close together. It's fine line defining those. All while we see him walking to a piece, illuminated, powered piece of the Traveler. And he grabs it, but he's also looking different, like he's becoming corrupted by something. Some people say that's just due to Awoken theoretically being made of both light and dark, which the origins are not totally proven of how they came to be, just that they were previously humans.
Mm-hmm.
That Awokens were created during the collapse. But it's interesting, what is he going to do with a light-powered piece of the Traveler, and why does he think there is sides? And the Guardian, and he's on the right side apparently, of whatever this war, whatever this thing he is a part of.
Well, I will say this. Bungie is good at blowing your mind when it comes to the story. Sometimes their stories go so far left field, you never see it coming. Sometimes you think you've got a handle on what's coming, and boom, they hit you with something. And Aldrin was one of those. I don't think anybody ever expected Aldrin to end up being one of the bad guys that you're going to fight in this new expansion. But when it comes down to what we saw there towards the end of the piece with Aldrin's eyes turning black, So we still have a few unanswered things that have happened in the Destiny world. We've got the ultimate enemy of the darkness. We still have that looming, enemy that's out there. There are some other questions still to be answered, because when you look at Destiny 2's trailer, after you finish the campaign and the Traveler has exploded its light and it travels through all of the galaxy, and we have now passed through Mars, which was our last one. That was our last expansion of the Warmind. Previous, it was, Osiris. And now we're hitting the Reef, which, if you look at that blast, it has progressed through all of those different planets, just like that has come. And after the Reef, there was a really long pause and a wait. And after that was these triangular ships. And nobody has really done a whole lot of speculation on what those triangular ships were that lit up and turned around and apparently are now heading for what I'm guessing is Earth, because, hey, there's this huge light beacon that just came out through the galaxy. So there's that piece. And then you've got Aldrin, who is clearly under the influence and has been corrupted completely. And he is now after this shard that is still out there. So we know that Aldrin is not a guardian. He never really was a guardian. He was royalty. I mean, he was Marasov's brother, and through blood became royalty. He was the Prince of the Reef. And I'm speculating for sure, but I can only speculate so much, because the trailer that we saw, the one piece with him grabbing the shard, and the second piece that kind of goes into that was him sitting on what I'm guessing is the throne, and next to him was a female that basically had caressed his arm. And there's two thoughts on that. One is Marasov is there with him. His sister is there with him. I don't think that's true. I don't think Marasov is there with him at all. I think that Aldrin, because if you look at his eyes are completely different in that scene versus the one that you see previously. He does not have the bright orange glowing eyes or the darkness in his eyes in that scene. I think those are dreams. I think he is dreaming of his sister, or his sister is actually speaking to him through mind control, telekinetic, however you can word that and function that. But I think that scene that we saw with, the female hand, I do think that might be Marasov. I just don't think she's actually there with him. I think that's probably a dream or her speaking to him in a different manner.
Yeah, completely agree. I don't think it's physically Marasov. I am more leaning to, because of the actions he takes in the trailer, which is the next scene, burning the throne, I think it is either his own mind, as you said, a dream, messing with him in his rage, in whatever state he's in, and or whatever currently is corrupting him, and that's assuming he's being corrupted, has taken the form of which for which he is the most vulnerable to, and that was his sister. His sister outranked him because she was the queen. She stopped him from doing several things, like when he said he wasn't going to help the Guardian, she called him back, almost in a very dog-like fashion, to her to have a conversation with him, but then, turned around the decision of what he just said. But he was very accepting of it. He never second-guessed her. He never questioned her. So,
yeah, there was definitely a leadership and submissive role between those two. Mara was clearly the leader. So that brings up some other speculation along with this. And one of the other thoughts I have also heard is that the Morozov side of that we see with the woman caressing his arm could potentially be an impersonator, somebody posing as his sister and manipulating him, controlling his mind. And maybe that's a vision. Maybe he was able to break free just enough to kind of see what it was. But like I said, those are all speculations. I know there's one other piece of this that we want to get into, and that is the Vidoc. But I want to take one last little quick turn here, and I won't spend long on this because I want to keep our time going. I want to try to keep this around an hour, so we're not an hour
30 minutes later,
an hour and 76 minutes, and we're like, oh, it's 2 hours and 15-minute podcast here. So here is what I wanted to touch base on. Last week there was a leak of information that had come out on Reddit, and some of the information, whoa, dude, the lore that goes into this and what it was warlock armor that somebody was actually able to screenshot the lore on these pieces of armor. Now, here's the interesting part with this, because it talks about Morozov. And this one piece, which was the Reverend Dawn Hood, it states this. It says, she waits. She trusts that Eris will shepherd the guardians and that the infinite ambition of those undying half-children will deliver her. They will enter the court and challenge its king and dance in its killing ground, and they will master the school of the sword logic so mightily that they will overturn its teacher and forsake the crown. Now, if you guys know anything about Destiny lore, you know that the sword logic is what Oryx spent his basically entire life trying to learn and become. He tried to actually physically become the sword logic. And this next piece, it says soon, but soon may not be soon enough, because Oryx roams the hollowed spires and melancholy shores of the dreaming city. He stands looking out over the mists of her beautiful creation, and he laughs. She can feel him there like a thorn in the meat of her palm. She scolds herself for not factoring Shurochi's love into her design. Then she breathes herself for this nervous energy, this fertile self-cannibalism. Lungless, Mara remembers the sensation of a deep breath, and enacts in her mind. She remembers the singularity before her. She waits. So, 3 really big pieces out of this. We've got Oryx being talked about. We've got the sword logic, and we've got Mara also being talked in this piece as well. Because if you look at what it's talking about for the Dreaming City, I don't think this is the Dreaming City that we have in the game. I really don't. I think the Dreaming City that we're going to see in the game is an ascendant realm, because if you look at the trailer and how things are going, the Taken presence there is ridiculous. There is some Taken magic going on that we've not seen in game yet from the trailers. There's some stuff going on that I definitely think has to do with Mara. I think it has to do with Oryx. Even though Oryx is dead, clearly he's been dead a long time, and I don't think we will ever see anything like Oryx come back. I think we may see some things that are worse than Oryx come, though. I really do. And there's some other things with this armor that was really curious, and it's got the lore community doing some deep dives right now, and it's got my interest peak. And like I said, I really do think that the Dreaming City that we get in the game is an ascendant realm, not for Oryx. I think it's an ascendant realm for Morozov. I think what happened to Mara is in that war with Oryx and with her Tekken witches, when they were raising up that energy, she basically pulled herself into an ascendant realm, per se, because she became so powerful. So I don't know. Like I said, that's a huge speculation, but I really do think that the Dreaming City is a ascendant realm. I think there are things being pulled up from Savathun. I think there's other massive creatures that we are going to end up seeing in the Dreaming City as well. And that kind of takes us right into our point of the Vidoc and what was released today. So let's jump into the Vidoc and the video that was rolled out a little earlier this afternoon.
Yeah, I mean, this Vidoc, just kind of generalizing as a whole, is 100% hey, community, we heard you, here you go. In every step along the way. Just starting off, it talks about the secret quest. They said make Destiny weird again, which is fantastic in all the uniqueness that Destiny brought to the table in D1, and they kind of capitalized in Taken King. They took some of it back, but they're bringing it back in Forsaken. And they talk right off the bat of how the community was so grateful to have a quest like we saw with what we did for Perfect Paradox, which we did for and expanded on for some of our others, but then even capitalized on for our secret quest, which we saw in the Black Spindle of Destiny 2, which was the Whisper of the Worm.
You mentioned the Whisper, and that brings a whole new lore topic too. But we won't get into it because here's the funny thing, I actually have a series planned to talk about the Whisper. And we're talking about making Destiny weird again. Everybody in the Destiny community has always asked for those little nuggets that Bungie was so good at hiding in the game. And we got a taste of that with the Whisper. The Whisper comes with an amazing lore tab on that weapon. And all you lore nerds out there know exactly what I'm talking about, because that weapon is Zol. It truly is. If you've not read that lore tab, read it. But that goes right back into the sword logic. It goes back into Zol. It goes back into Oryx's son. It goes back into the Destiny 1 weapon that Oryx was part of. I can't think of the name of it. What was the scout rifle in Destiny 1 that had basically it was the pulsing heart that took your life away?
Touch of Malice.
Touch of Malice. The Touch of Malice and the Whisper are basically two in the same weapon. The Touch of Malice was what Oryx was trying to become and create and have a piece of him that lasted forever, even once he passed from the physical realm and into the Ascendant realm. The Whisper is the same thing. It is Zol basically living on forever. So, anyways, there's a lore video and talk and podcast one day coming on that. I'll be quiet now.
That is, and that's where he takes the lore and runs off with it down a rabbit hole through multiple other tunnels. 20 minutes later. But going back to the VidDog,
secret quests,
secret quests, and they promise more of those. They promise much more, which is huge. A lot more, which is huge for those that, and they talk about really making a grind for those top Destiny players for something to look forward to. And it really calls out to how and why like games like World of Warcraft has stayed where they're at, is because they have those things like it. I mean, I call back to when I played the game, even though I didn't hit those top tier things, I was still working on my sub tier stuff, and I'd get them done. I was like, okay, let me go do that. And that's what was missing from D2, is that you could very easily get to end game and the grind wasn't that hard, and then that was it.
And then there was nothing.
You're done. You should go play PvP or go do the raid for the 7th billionth time.
Right.
There was no, you could spend time doing it if you wanted to. It was there for you if you wanted to. You could still, you can go back and go play your PvP and you can go do your raids. But when you get to that top tier and want to have something that's going to, allow you to feel accomplished in, the secret quest will be there. And they're bringing back, along with that, they're bringing back the random rolls. So now you have even more to, let's say I almost got the perfect roll for my D2 grass block, whatever it may be. And you're like, I'm going to go grind for it today or this weekend. Or if you're unlucky like me, 3 weeks later, still grind for it.
Better
it's
devils.
It's better. We won't even go there. And it's something to reach out for, and being that they've added random rolls back, you now have that grind exponentially, that accomplishment exponentially expanded from what we saw in year one of D2. So it's an excellent step. It's a good step. We're starting to see some of those being dropped already in before Forsaken, so we're getting small glimpses of what is to come. But definitely a grind worthy of top tier.
Yeah, for sure. They're definitely giving us those little nuggets, and I love it. The biggest thing that I'm excited for, not just the story and the lore, there's tons of things to be excited for, but the random rolls are going to be huge again. Finding that perfect weapon that just, it fits how you play, it fits your game style. I think that's going to be fun. They talked about dead ghosts coming back into the game again as well. That's going to be a huge game changer for lore and story and the buildup of all the content that made Destiny 1 so great. We're getting those drops back in the pool that we get to go play with again. And that is huge. So yes, the grind is going to be there. There's going to be all these different levels. You're going to have people that complain and whine and, oh my God, why did you change this? And, oh, I loved how easy Destiny. You know what? Look, if I was a game developer, I would rip all my hair out if I had to listen to all that. I really would. This is why I'm not a game developer. I'm a game player. And this is what I have to say to everybody out there is you don't know what their shoes are like. You don't know what they work on. If you've never done game developing, if you've never been in those boots, then take your criticism and go suck on a sour lemon, because that's not what the community wants, and that's not what the community needs right now. Twitter and Facebook and YouTube and everybody else, they need positive reinforcement, because guess what? We're playing video games, and video games are supposed to be fun. They're supposed to be friendly. They're supposed to build the community, not tear them down. And the people out there that are in the cesspools and have the bad attitudes, you know what? I'm really suspecting that a lot of this is going to drive those players away. And I think it's needed. I think Bungie's doing the right thing by bringing this content back, because they are going to clean out the dirty areas of the game that have so many naysayers, and they're bringing back people who truly do love the game. This is a huge community of people that play Destiny, from the content creators. We've got a massive lore community, myself included in that, and you as well. It may not be, Lord of the Rings big, but it is still huge, and it's part of the game, and people are passionate about it. And that's what I love about all the stuff that we got to see from DMG today and Deej and Cosmo. They're passionate about this again. You can see the excitement coming out, and they wanted to see how the community reacted to all this, and they got to see the excitement. They got to see the emotions and the love and the passion, and they got to see the community just kind of blow up again, because that's all you saw Twitter talk about today was, man, it's great to see all the community communicating and talking and doing things again together, because it was dead. It really just kind of was. It was kind of flat, kind of boring, kind of leveled out for a little while. Other people were playing different games. They were checking other things out. So yeah, I'm ready to see some life come back into the game. Anyways, that's my spiel. As you guys can tell, I'm very passionate.
Well, and what is coming is definitely going to, I hope, all those in the community that are passionate about, myself included, we have what they're promising to be a no content drought, which we saw in the beginning of D1. We saw a little bit of D2, though content was there, just sometimes recycled.
Yeah, definitely recycled. They recycled
Yeah.
a bunch.
And sometimes too much. But we even saw some different things coming down the pipeline. We saw the announcement of the Black Armory, which is, that's really piquing my interest right now, whatever that is. And a hidden society that dedicated themselves to creating the most powerful of weapons during the Golden Age.
And
We thought Braytech was, the top tier. Nope, these guys.
Dude, that sniper rifle that was previewed in the Vidoc today, what on earth? Like, come on, gimme.
Give me. And hopefully those weapons I see that as a huge, here is select weapons, but to get them, just like the Reddit broadsword, that is, we already confirmed is coming out in Forsaken, but the quest to get that is extensive and makes it, when you get that weapon, you feel accomplished.
Yeah.
And that's what I hope. They have tiers of that in Black Armory when that comes. A story to go along with it, of course. But when that releases, you have that aspect to it that allows you to grind for it, feel accomplished for it, and once you finally get it, and you can show it off that, hey, I got this. So I see that being a big one there.
So here's the cool part of the Black Armor. Well, this is what piques my interest about the Black Armory the most, is that the picture that we've got for the Black Armory looks like Banshee 44. It's darkened and you can only really kind of see one eye, but the outline looks like an EXO and it looks like Banshee 44 in the background. Now, if that's true, I don't know. There's no story or anything that's being talked about here, but I'm very excited because yes, they did say secret society, the massive forgers. They built these crazy weapons. So that really piqued our interests. They're even talking about a new raid lair coming with that as well. So they're already planning outside of the Dreaming City. Here's what I hope that they do and build upon things, because the Leviathan raid got monotonous. You're going back to the same place over and over and over. And even though it changed, there wasn't a lot of meat to it. It was go do this activity, get this reward. Go do this activity, get this reward. And as we saw, the Leviathan was more of a test for the Guardian to see if they could come through. The Dreaming City in the realms that we've seen, what they've talked about, looks more like traditional Bungie raid, the Destiny raids that we're used to, like the Taken King.
Absolutely. Yeah, I was going to compare it to that.
The Taken King was the best raid that we've ever had. It really was. Now, the Rise of Iron raid, it was good. It was mechanically fun. It had a great story. I really did enjoy it, but the Taken King really to date has not been anywhere compared to the other raids that we've had. I think the mechanics that went into it, I think the Dreaming City is going to go way above and beyond. They talked about the Dreaming City being so much bigger than what the Taken King raid ever could have been. And that's kind of mind-boggling, because that was a big raid. It really was. It took hours upon hours for people to finish that thing when they first started it. So that's going to be another kind of cool piece, is the world's first when they get to run in that raid. That's going to be pretty cool to see who figures all this stuff out. So there's going to be big props, because it's going to be a big raid.
Yeah, and talking about that, I mean, it'll be good to get away from, like you said, get away from the Leviathan, because the environment, different environments is the key for me. Different environments, different experiences. That's what separated, that's what went for D1, is that each raid, except for when you're going from like Crota to the Taken King, the environments were the same, but before that, you always were a different area in what you raided with, what you raided in. So I hope that they keep going with that. I mean, there is talk of the third expansion. You have Black Armor, you have Joker's Wild. Then you have the last one, Penumbra. It looks like we're going back to the Leviathan. So if the raid accomplishes both the difficulty, the integration of story, not just go kill this, I'm okay with that. But they definitely need to have more. Like, I hope they fit in a raid maybe into Joker's Wild, or they add one in there as a free update. I mean, that would be mind-blowing if they did something like that.
Yeah, that would be a huge tack on to things. So, yeah, there's definitely not going to be a content drought by any means with the things that are coming out. On top of a few of, like the Joker's Wild, the Black Armory, and the Penumbra. Those are the big expansions that are coming out. And then we've got other pieces outside of those game plays that are coming as well. So Black Armory is coming for the winter expansion. That's the little DLC coming this year. And the Dawning is actually going to be part of that one. That's going to be kind of a cool tack on. The Joker's Wild is coming out spring of 2019. So there's your first of the year. And they have an event that's supposed to be tacked onto it. They haven't given updates on what that's going to be yet. And then same thing with Penumbra. Penumbra is going to be your next year summer event, and they've got an event that's going to be tacked onto it. They just haven't given the updates. But one piece is really cool before we move on to this next section is next month, October, is going to be the Festival of the Lost. And a lot of people have, if you look back in Destiny 1, one of the cool things with Festival of the Lost was it was just fun. It was ridiculous. They had some crazy things in it. There was always stuff that you could go do. And they had those boxes of raisins that we picked up one year. And everybody was like, what on earth do we do with some boxes of raisins? And the next year they turned them into Ascendant raisins. Ridiculous stuff. And, maybe they bring back some of that kind of fun that we had in Destiny 1. Just some of the ridiculous, we have no need for it whatsoever, but it was just a breakaway from the grind, and I think that was healthy for the game. So I'm kind of excited for those pieces. And then the really cool part about, having this drought that we've had in Destiny 2 is the build-up. I think people are so excited for this, and Bungie really looks like they're delivering. So I think that has really just kind of pushed the community to a whole new level for this game.
Yeah, absolutely. And then the last piece we have here is really a capstone on making this a accomplishment-based game. And being able to show that, if not, let alone what the weapons you have, the rare armor. Hopefully, it may, we've always talked about rare weapons, but they haven't mentioned rare armor, which would be huge. But is lore tabs and titles, which are tied together. With the lore tabs really finally bringing the lore in game, besides the lore tabs on your weapons, but bringing it in where you can unlock it. And then on top of that, you have now titles that you can show off to your clanmates, to other random people out there that, look, I grinded for this, I did all this, boom, here's my title. And that, just like my reference to World of Warcraft, that was huge when you got those big titles, Slayer of Dragons, a Slayer of the Ice King, you get those on there and you're like, look what I did.
Yeah,
I did this.
It was a show of look at it took skill to get those things and a lot of hours to get those things. We had them in Lord of the Rings Online as well, and there were some out there that if you were a lore head like myself, they had titles for people who it was Scholar or something, Scholar of the books or something like that. I can't remember the actual name of it. But yes, I'm very excited for the titles and the lore tab more of. Yeah. So one of our clanmates was making fun of me earlier because he was like, hey, Chris, you want to come play? And he's like, oh, no, he's busy reading the lore tab again. So, yes.
Yes. But all of it, the 2 videos released today, all the little nuggets of lore released after that of Cayde's letters is really a perfect direction for way Destiny needs to continue.
Yeah.
Is T-minus 1 week before we get the release next Tuesday.
September 4th.
We get to hop in and get to experience the story, get to experience full loot tables, get to get our power levels up, start to grind for all those secret missions, those titles, those lore. It's going to be an exciting time.
Yeah, extremely. This is huge for the game, and I can only see the community coming together even more than what they have. I think a lot more content is definitely to come, even for us. You know, we're part-time, content creators at best right now because of our schedules and busy lives. We've got kids, we've got families, and those come first, even though that we love this as much as we do. Family and all that has definitely come first. And my wife and I, we've spent a ton of time over the last year really getting situated in our new home, and we moved last year, so that's been a big change for us as well. But yes, definitely, I think Victus and I are on par and on track to definitely bring some new things to our media and our content creation. And Victus and I have been talking over the last few weeks. I think there's going to be some huge changes for us coming, and some big consolidation for a lot of our media. And that was something that, I kind of brought up for Victus a couple of weeks ago, and he really agreed, because right now, personally for me, it's hard to keep up with multiple outlets, and I know it is for Victus as well. So you guys just keep on the lookout. We will keep you updated, because I'm going to be making some changes, and so is Victus, on how we bring media to you guys. It's all going to be rolled up under the All Things Geekery platform. We are taking basically the Victus Dark Arrow name and the Detached Gaming name as our hosts, and everything that we do, all my blogging, all the writing, all the gameplays, the streaming, everything is going to be rolled up under that All Things Geekery. So more to come for the rest of this year on that, and we'll definitely keep you guys updated and out on the Twitter sites and the Facebooks and the YouTubes and Twitches and all the social media stuff, for sure.
Yeah, definitely look forward to that, guys.
Yeah, it's going to be fun. Can't wait to jump in with you guys. I think definitely a lot of time is going to be spent playing some Destiny 2 here in a few weeks.
And hopefully making podcasts.
And with that being said, we are at our time limit, guys. So thank you all so much for joining in on this episode. This has been a ton of fun. Victus and I always enjoy getting together with you guys. And don't forget, we are pretty much on a monthly schedule for our podcasts. So if you're ever wondering, we try to get our podcast out the last week of every month. You can find us over on Podbean at All Things Geekery. We are also out on social media as well. Check out our website. It is allthingsgeekery.com. You can find myself out on Twitter a whole bunch. I spend a ton of time out there, and this is the best place to probably get a hold of me if you want to talk, chat, whatever you want to do. But you can find me at Detached Gaming, and you can also find Victus out on social media, and I'll let him talk about that.
Absolutely. Yeah, I don't tend to retweet quite as much as Detached over here, but you can definitely find me out on Twitter at victus.darkarrow. I'd love to chat with you about all things technology, gaming, a lot of Destiny, really anything gaming.
Pretty much, if you're a geek, nerd, whatever it is, we'd love to talk to you about it. So, with that being said, guys, you all have an amazing time, and I hope you guys are excited for Destiny 2. Let us know what you're looking forward to in the comments, and be on the lookout for our future episodes. You guys have an amazing time, and we will see you in the next episode.